At Circuit World, we offer a wide selection of major appliances, name brands like Whirlpool, LG, Frigidaire, and more. Looking for furniture? Come by and browse our showroom or check out the Endless Aisle, a touchscreen kiosk with thousands of options. Need electronics, gaming computers, laptops, desktops, tablets? We have it all. OLED or QLED, 4K or high def. We have the selection to get you the TV of your dreams. And don't forget, at Circuit World, your credit is always good. So ask about our convenient payment options and 120 days same as cash. Come see us today at one of our 5 area locations.
Circuit World has 9-piece living room packages at incredible prices. Get this stylish sofa and love seat, 3 tables, 2 lamps, 43-inch 4K TV, and stand, all for only $1699.99 or $129.99 a month. Or get this 9-piece living room and reclining sofa and reclining love seat, now only $1999.99 or $149.99 a month. These packages are amazing. Stop in today at one of our 5 locations and get the furniture you've always wanted at Circuit World.
In 1981, Reed Nicholson began selling tires out of an old barn in Mineral Bluff. Little did he know that he had just laid the groundwork for the most trusted names in automotive services in the Blue Ridge area. In 1997, Nicholson Tire Center became what it is today, holding the same values of faith, family, and great customer service. 2 locations to serve you, and the Blue Ridge location is currently expanding to offer fast service and the largest U-Haul provider in Georgia. Nicholson Tire Center, Blue Ridge, and Mineral Bluff.
Hello, everybody, and welcome into week 2 of Inside the Smoky Mountain Conference. Jake West, joined as always by Brandon Stevens. Week 1 officially under our belts, and it's safe to say, Brandon, our Smoky Mountain Conference teams fared pretty well. 5 of our 6 teams getting a W heading into week 2. Just to kick off the show, one thing that surprised you from week 1.
Well, number 1, Cherokee. And we're going to talk about them first. I really thought the way they came out against Smoky Mountain, they had really a good plan set down. They knew everything that Smoky Mountain was doing. Jake, we're going to find out that Cherokee Braves just got taken out of the game with injuries, and that's what kicked the legs out from underneath them. But I like the way they played coming out. Along the way, maybe the scores were a little bit different. Maybe I didn't expect 41 points to be scored by Murphy over in Franklin. And man alive, Hayesville was able to really diversify and use a lot of different people in its offense. And no surprise with Andrews, but if there was one other surprise, it was just how Swain County came out in the opening moments with a new offense that, I just played online. It didn't quite work. But when they went back to the old Mountain Veer smash mouth football, man, that dog will hunt for them. And I think I'll have to tell you a funny story about that a little bit later that I heard over the weekend. But, but the big one, I think, was we weren't expecting that much from Cherokee. They've been gutted, and it's supposed to be a high-powered Smoky Mountain offense. Even though they lost their quarterback, it's supposed to be like Smoky Mountain all the way, and it wasn't so.
Yeah, let's talk about that game. What was it, 14-13 at halftime? Cherokee was down by a missed extra point.
Right. Well, but in the very beginning, it was Cherokee really building, and it was like at a certain point, it was all right, 7-0, then 13-0, and then time was sliding down. But Cherokee allowed 34 unanswered points from that point on, going on through. And I was wondering why this was taking place. And right up front, maybe there was some miscues by Smoky Mountain, but really, they've had good running back out of Mike Driver, and we kind of suspected that he would be the running back, but no. Brandon Santiago is, and I think Mato Grant are the 2 guys carrying the ball. But they moved Mike Driver into quarterback, and then he gets an injury just right before halftime. And then you've got your safety, Tanner Park goes out. Mato Grant cramps up from, as Coach Hawkins said, from the very tip hair on his head down to his toenails. He cramped up, and that's not good. Rains had to leave. So there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, almost 6 players of your 11 on the field that are not there, and especially your team leader. Jake, that just pulled the wind out of Cherokee sails. And I think also instead of seeing Damari Williams from Smoky Mountain out doing his usual wide receiver post, they've moved him into the backfield. And some schemes were going a little bit different, but it looked like Isaiah McNeely and Damari did a pretty good job there. Smoky Mountain is still trying to dial it in with their quarterback. The passing is not quite as crisp, and I think some plays didn't go exactly the Mustang way, as they would say in Silva. Cherokee had an advantage. Plus, Coach Tim Hawkins, he's I looked at the roster. I see Stillwells and Suttons, and and these are all kids from people I went to high school with, and really in Silva, football doesn't change too much, and it's the same way that you'll probably find in Murphy and Bryson City and Andrews and everywhere else you go. But so the style and the way that they like to Coach Hawkins. He knows how he switched up a few schemes too. He's going to more of an option. He likes the ace set, as I tell you. It's not a variation. It's sometimes a little pro eye, but he's simulating a few things, and it looks pretty good with Cherokee. I was rather impressed. This week they've got Cosby, Tennessee, and not quite a lot known, but. Basically, they came by and beat Cumberland Gap 28-14. This is Cosby's going to be a good passing team. They've got a kid, I believe, Devontae Wigfall, 117 yards passing. But they also have a good ground game. Really, the touchdowns from Cosby came on the ground. Cherokee will have to get healed up real quick to be ready for this one. But to me, some good confidence came out of that game for the Cherokee Braves.
Yeah, I agree. And before we talk about Smoky Mountain, let's talk about Cherokee's game versus Cosby. My prediction for that one is if it's like Coach Hawkins said, depending on the extent of the injuries, are we going to be able to see the same Cherokee team we saw first half week 1 line up against Cosby and give them a run for their money? I don't know if that's going to be the case. Simply due to the fact of injuries. And it seems like Cherokee defended the pass pretty well. I know Smoky Mountain has a new quarterback. West is gone, but that doesn't mean Williams is not still out there, and he can catch just about anything within a 10-foot radius thrown at him. So they did a good job limiting that. Williams only had 1 catch, and then they moved him into the backfield, and he had 175 yards and a touchdown, averaged nearly 11 yards per carry. But I think Cherokee is going to face an uphill battle against this one on the road. So I think I'm gonna go with Cosby in this one. What are your thoughts?
If they can, and if the injuries are true to what Coach Hawkins is saying, they're no broken bones. There's not somebody that's that had to, go to the hospital. It's all medicine cabinet injuries from what we're seeing. And if people like Mato Grant this time around can stay hydrated, really, it could be. I think that's it's a good confidence builder to know that you've got people who can play and play well. I don't think it's going to be a drumming of Cherokee. They could go and play well if they get some people healed up, take a little bit of time and get unified. But I will have to go with you. This is probably at least an edge for Cosby, Tennessee. But we'll see. I don't think that if they can come back from the injuries, get some people set up, Cherokee could have an opportunity, but I'll give the advantage to Cosby, Tennessee, though.
Flip side of that game, we've got Swain County, who's going to be, I believe, traveling to Smoky Mountain.
I think so.
I think so.
Just a quick look for them, and
mean, this is a game we thought Swain County was going to lose heading into the season. I don't so much think that's going to be the case now. Swain looked really, really good against a team they were projected to lose 2 touchdowns. Let's see, Swanky Mountain that game's on the road, so that you have that against you. But still, 34-0 in week 1 against Charlotte Country Day. Like I said, in a game that you were the 14-point underdog in, win 34-0. Got to be a good confidence boost, just like you said for Cherokee, and then to see the way that Cherokee played Smoky Mountain, you've got to be feeling pretty confident heading in. Even though you're going to Silva, you got to be pretty confident thinking that you could win that game Friday night.
So a couple things with that Swain game with Charlotte Country Day. It was a tale of two halves, because first half, Coach Holt had the team in a spread. He was pretty much playing up in a new offense. And quite frankly, just put it bluntly, it wasn't very comfortable. They didn't execute well. It was, the score was 6-0 for a good while. And then, so sitting down and, over the weekend, wondering what happened, because when you flip the script and it goes into the second half, and, there's, Josiah Gillespie, just wonderful job. 148 yards rushing, touchdown. Josh Collins with a couple touchdowns, 141 yards. But that wasn't so in the first half, Jake. And what happened, they switched back up the offense to the good old veer that Swain County is well known for. And the kids can play well. And, at the North Carolina High School Athletic Hall of Fame, while we're watching Boy Steets, Bob Marr kind of leans over to Sherman Holt and says, "Yeah, you got to go with that mountain football, not that city ball that you were playing in the first half. Bring us back home with it." And you see what happened. So, of course, Bob, he was a longtime Cherokee coach, but he's got Bryson City roots, and he gave Coach Holt a little poke for going away from mountain ball to city ball. And he said, "You see what happens." So really, I mean, but that is the bread and butter. That's the ammunition in the gun that Swain had. They've always been, good veer offense from, way back in the 70s, smash mouth football. And the difference, they were playing up with what Charlotte Country Day was doing. And Charlotte Country Day was beating them. But once they, just came up, played a little smash mouth football, and it totally changed the tempo and the momentum of the game. You can see the evidence there. But the difference here, I think, too, is that in looking at the stops, there were some really good plays that Swain was coming through, and I think that's going to be critical when you get into trying to stop the Isaiah McNally's and the Damari Williams. Again, Smoky Mountain really trying to find its place on the field somewhere where the pass is just not there. They'll come out, and if they try to, they'll play a little bit of a hybrid of what maybe Charlotte Country Day. They still have that good mountain run against. It'll be a good football game, but definitely this is a Swain County advantage. Even though you're going to go play in Silva, no, I never have really found a good advantage when you're either playing Swain County and you're in a back in the Sol Webster or the Smoky Mountain days. Swain will play you tough, especially if you're a Silva team.
Yeah, definitely. And to your point, I mean, they had 342 rushing yards on 42 carries. Like you said, they went to the veer, the smash mouth football in the second half. But Reese Winchester looked like he settled in at quarterback. 7 for 11, 74 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Biggest thing for me is it looks like Swain turned the ball over maybe just one time. Josh Collins maybe fumbled once. No interceptions, 1 lost fumble. And compared to last year, turnover bug just haunted Swain County. That's a really good start.
Well, number one, yeah, it's like a grease pig contest with the football. And Coach Holt will tell you right, that there are too many turnovers. You have You have one turnover, okay, two turnovers, but 3, 4, 5, 6, you've lost the game, and you've lost it big. That was what was happening to Swain County. Or you get right down to the red zone and pop the ball out, miscue here or there. I like some other kids that you see on the line if you watch a few highlights or if you can take it in. I like Grady Lewis. Man, he was doing big tackling. He and Lucas Sutton. Josh Collins playing a little bit of defense too. He was in there. Three big guys that stopped and did well. Otherwise, flip the script, and they're running the ball. So good Ironman football from these guys. And I say Swain County by at least 14.
I think that's a pretty good bet. I would say 28, 14, something like that is what I would guess. 35, 21, something like that. Swain's going to put up some points this year, I believe. I think they are going to be, we said this going into the year, they finally found their offensive identity, and that seemed to be evident in week one. Speaking of finding your identity when nobody thinks you're going to stand much of a chance heading into the year, Murphy, you were at that game, absolutely manhandled Franklin Panthers in the Panther pit.
Yeah, and we knew this was not going to be probably the best Franklin Panther team that was going out there. And looking at them when you I always like that first moment when you come into a field, the team's warm up. This team is warming up, that team is warming up, and you look at them, and they're almost like size 2 to 1 compared to Murphy. They're big guys, and but now the intensity just wasn't quite there that you would see in a normal Franklin Panther football team. Murphy moved them around just in the trenches. I think that to name a few people that I just really enjoyed watching, Trenton Russell, Brody Orton, Cadence Leatherwood, and Will Joyner. Just real quickly stood out to me. I mean, there were others that I could unpack on defense, and that's what made the whole thing, Jake. When you're 34-0 at halftime, that's great that Hunter Stalkup scores 4 touchdowns, and freshman Cameron Clem goes on a 43 to 45 yard run and scorches the field. But when your defense is shutting down the opponent, and really it was 2, 3, 4 plays in a cloud of dust for your opponent, and they're not doing, or there's a 3 and out, you're punting, and it's that's huge. And these guys, Russell, two interceptions, 1 pick six. Orton is getting into the backfield a bunch of times, and finally he grabs on to a quarterback and brings him down for a sack. And then Cadence Leatherwood, he's just turned into a little man-child. He's lost some weight. He's a little more mobile, agile, and hostile. And the other guy that was like, where did you come from? Was Will Joyner, playing some really good defense, knocking some people around, flying to the ball. I really enjoyed watching this. Now, when we jumped out to it was a little disheartening at the beginning because Murphy marched all the way down to the 5 yard line and thought we were going to punch one in, and then all of a sudden we're going back to the 7, we're going back to the 10, and it's like a little game of chutes and ladders, or we're going down and then we slide back, so we had to prop one up, and Will Joyner goes a little wide to the right. So like, all right, well, we went on this long journey and then came up 0. But defense turned it around, and we got another opportunity, and that's when Cameron Clem ran in. Otherwise, second quarter, it just opened up. And we saw on the drives, just real short, like 1 or 2 yard runs, but getting down there, I like the good passing. It looked like Brady Grant was right at home at quarterback, and hitting Zach Scogan. He hit a little screen pass to Hunter Stalkup, a few times. So the passing was good. I mean, what was he like 5 of 6 for the day,
Yep.
or at least, or I'm sorry, 8 of 9 for 138, 140 yards or so. So when you get that out of a sophomore quarterback first time, and he was real smooth and comfortable moving around. I like the whole thing, and then it was just really good. There were so many things you could unpack in this game, and but Murphy, I did not expect 41-14, and really the 14 came in the dying moments when we fumbled the football and allowed a touchdown. Otherwise, it might have been 41-0.
Well, let's hear what head coach Joseph Watson had to say. You caught up with him post game. Let's hear what he had to say. Big smile on his face. I can already tell from looking at the video.
Right.
Coach Watson, congratulations on the win. Tell me about the intensity of this game, because you came out fire. You marched down. It wasn't successful, but after that, man, everything was going Murphy Bulldogs.
Yeah, I think that first drive, even though we didn't score down there, and you always got to score when you get in the red zone, miss a field goal, but. I think that kind of set the tone that we knew that we could, move the ball on them, and then a big stop by the defense. I think the defense played outstanding the entire night, just forcing 3 and outs and just getting the ball back to the offense. They did a great job.
There's so many things to unpack in this game. I mean, Will Joyner did great. You had a good pass to Scogan, and Cameron ran one, and then of course Hunter Stalkup was all night. So good stuff to build on for next week with Commerce.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we got a lot of kids get some playing time today that hadn't played much, and that's a good experience for them. And, like you said, some of the regulars like Hunter had an outstanding night, and, it's fun to watch Cam run the ball, and Brady had an outstanding night too. And you just got to continue doing that and continue managing the offense. And but I'm proud of those kids, and they came to play, and they had a great night.
Go Bulldogs.
Go Dogs.
Yeah, he was a little toothy in that, wouldn't you say, Jake?
Yeah, he was. But talked about some young kids. I mean, Brady Grant, Cameron Clem, all of them just coming on, running stride for stride with their senior leader, Hunter Stalkup, Ryan Payne. All those young kids seem to be, filling in the holes that were left by all those seniors last year.
I want to mention one thing too. If you could go back and look at the highlights, and I know you graded the film and you helped. Position at center, Brody Orton, Ricky Queen, Zach, and what I'm mentioning is really the front line of the Murphy offense protected Brady Grant real well. There was only one time, maybe 2 times he was scrambling, but never really did you see where he was hurried in the backfield or, oh gosh, he's having to throw the ball out of bounds or something like that. It was really, really good protection. So kudos that front line. Some other folks, like you mentioned, Will and Ryan, Trenton Russell, and the sides, but and maybe a little breakout one of these days. Jonah Hedden got a few touches, but hey, it's like we always like you and I when we stream a game. If you feed the pig, the one that's eating at the trough, and that was Hunter Stalkup. I mean, how can you not? The guy's moving the ball, and he was making it look pretty doggone easy too. So in that, the big one coming up now is Commerce. They played rather close, 21-19 to Southside Christian, and this one's going to take a little bit more grit. You'll have to step up your game on Friday. They're probably still ticked about that 1-point loss down in Georgia last year, and man, that one. We thought we're put away. Murphy steps it up. We get Ty Laney and a couple others to really move the football, and I think that was the breakout game last year where we discovered like, hey, we can play football, but we've done that a little bit earlier. But you better not get a little too lazy or complacent, because these guys aren't going to make a long road trip to lose. Was it John Paul Allen, Jaden Daniels or Davis, I believe, is those are a couple of the guys that are getting ready to come up here, and we'll see. They'll be tough.
Yeah, Jaden Daniels, all-state running back. He's a really good athlete. Going to be tough to track down. Definitely better athletes on this Commerce squad than the Franklin squad they saw last week. What's your prediction here? Commerce making a long road trip, but like you said, a little fire in their bellies after losing last year.
All right, you played a good game against Franklin Panthers. Not the toughest, team that you're going to face. This one goes up a little bit, and no, I don't necessarily think it's going to be 41-14. We're going to have to work with this one. So I think like this is going to be a Murphy football game, but it's going to be a lot closer too. Maybe 21-17, 14-7 in that neck of the woods. Murphy can take this one. They know what they need to do. They've gotten pretty serious, and I think right afterwards, after this football game, there was a moment where Brady Grant comes over and we're talking. He says, "You were right. If we got everything together, we're on the same page and we're unified." They found out that that they're playing as a team, and they're working well. So I think if they keep that same spirit, it can be very close. But I'll give a little nod to the Bulldogs on this one, just because I'm a Bulldog fan too.
Yeah, I think this game can go either way. I think we could see, do we see a Murphy team that is fired up coming off of last week, big blowout win, or do we see a Murphy team that's complacent and thinks it's going to be handed to them because they're wearing black and gold on Friday night? So we could kind of see a tale of two teams. We kind of saw it last year, which Murphy team is going to show up. I think home field advantage is too much in this one. They won last year by a slim margin. I think they pull it off again this year. Hunter Stockum's going to be hard to stop. And like you said, defensively, the front line played well last week. And if they can stop Jaden Daniels, I don't know what else Commerce is going to be able to reload and throw at him. So I think I'm going to go with Murphy by maybe 6-7, somewhere around in there. It's going to be a one-score ball game for sure. May even come down to the foot of Will Joyner. Who knows? But I think home field advantage, David Gentry Stadium, or David Gentry Field, it's going to be in favor of the black and gold. But like I said, depends on which Murphy team shows up.
Hey, but I'll tell you what, the opponent from Murphy, Franklin, and this is just a segue into the next venue, doesn't get any better, doesn't get any easier. Franklin traveled up to the Big Oaks and Man Alive, what was it, a couple of 100 yards, 4 touchdowns for Cutler Adams, and Chase Calhoun shows he can carry the ball, and you've got quite a few people who did work, and even Cage Williams, but that's going to be a tough one for Franklin.
Yeah, it is. I think we thought Robbinsville was going to win that football game last week. We thought they were going to win it by, maybe 2 scores. I didn't expect them to completely shut out East Surrey.
And East Surrey is not the East Surrey from 22. Just they're gutted, and it shows. But look, trying to get a pass, and quarterback here, you can't stay back in the pocket that long, especially against a team like Robbinsville. You're fried.
Yeah, Robbinsville. Ultimately, all 3 phases of the football game, they were pretty much perfect. Offensive line was the only thing maybe had a question mark in front of it heading into this year. And then in game 1, you allow your quarterback to throw for 109 yards and a touchdown, and you allow your running backs to rush for 350 yards. And Cutler Adams gets 3 touchdowns. Chase Calhoun runs 9 times for 70 yards. Haddon ran the ball. He had over 40 yards. Lovin ran the ball. Cage Williams ran the ball. Everybody ran the ball behind that offensive line. And I think that question mark has disappeared. There's no longer a question mark in front of the young Robbinsville offensive line. They are a solid football team all around. Their offensive.
look how they open up the line here. I mean, it's just good discipline. They come to the line and they make every play just look smooth as glass. But I'll tell you what, I'd rather play tag with a rattlesnake than to go up against Robbinsville Black Knights front line.
I agree. As you see there, I mean, Carpenter was 5 for 10, 109 yards, a touchdown. Nobody made a mistake, and it was perfect football. Coach Walsh, Coach Ford. I mean, they had their guys ready to go in week 1. And like you said, if you're Franklin, your sledding isn't going to get much easier after Murphy. Now you get Robbinsville, and you go to the Big Oaks. I mean, I'd say 40-6 again, Robbinsville over Franklin in week 2.
And that might be because coaches put in some second stringers, third stringers, bring around because, really doing some really good work. I liked Chase Calhoun and Roman Jones and Bryce. Defense, they really didn't allow too much for East Surrey. They had probably half a dozen or more tackles each. And Zeke Silvers and some of the, Jumper, they're in there forcing the turnovers and fumbles. It's a good defense. And I'm actually kind of surprised that it's 40-6. I almost look to see a little goose egg up for it. Really, you're going to have to take care of the ball. And do it a lot better than what was taken at Murphy. But totally, you're going to have to really step it up. This one, I would almost give to the same type of score that you probably saw either in that Murphy game or in the Robbinsville East Surrey game. It'll be a 40-7, 42-7. Maybe you might even get into the 50s here on this one, but. Depending on what happens, if Coach Walsh, calls off the Knights and goes to some of the apprentices in the round table, this one could get real ugly real quick.
Agreed. And speaking of ugly, Andrews last week, 35-0 shutout over Rosman. Rosman still new head coach Tyree Allen trying to get over the hump, trying to get that first win in a couple years. They looked good. They looked really good. I know they lost a ton, but the guys that they return are some real dudes.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Andrews, they might be down a little bit. There's no way you can get all the players replaced that you lost last year, but they're still looking pretty good. Now, a little bit weaker team from Rosman, Coach Tyree Allen trying to get them set, and he's trying to orchestrate a new offense and getting some that may or may not take root. But looking at this one, I thought maybe this might even be a little bit worse than what it was.
Yeah, I think, like you said, they called off the Dogs pretty early. Andrews had 300 rushing yards, only gave up 94 total yards, 14 first downs. They were 70% on third down, so even when they were backed up just a little bit, they still found a way to kind of break through. Dalton Rose, he had some pretty big runs. They've moved him to running back like we talked about in the week 0 show. I'm telling you, Andrews is going to be a very tough team to beat. I know that the score wasn't, like you said, as big as some people might have expected, but called off the Dogs early, let some younger kids get some playing time in, and I think Andrews is going to keep on rolling. I mean, their schedule as far as out-of-conference games, aside from the game against Mitchell on September 8th, is pretty much in their favor. I mean, they've got at East – they travel to East Henderson this week. I think that's another win. Then they've got New Faith Christian. Then they've got at home against Mitchell, and then they go to Hickory. So I think they're easily going to be 4-1, maybe with a loss to Mitchell. I don't know what Mitchell looks like, but I mean, it's going to be another good Andrews team.
I'll just level with you, Jake. I don't think Andrews is going to be tested until they get to the Mitchell game. But again, I haven't looked at Mitchell to see what, but there's always a Pittman with power and prowess to prove a point across the pitch in Mitchell County. Lex Burns is quarterback, and the numbers that he posts up, it looks like something that comes out of the NFL, because I think this is like pass. East Henderson team. It was 21 of 36 for like 300 yards that I believe he had. And, there are a couple of other people at Leland Prutzman, Tanner Floyd, and James Robinson, I think, are some of their bigger players. But this is a spread pass team, and I won't tell you who kind of shares their thoughts, but a couple of the coaches saying, this is probably a weaker team in that conference. East Henderson, they're coupled up, with North and Smoky Mountain and Franklin and Tuscola. And probably this is the weaker sister of the group in that. But again, if you can handle spread a team that will pass 36 of the possible 50 times that you hold the ball or have a play, then you're money ahead. And I think that this will play right into Andrews. You can contain that. They got some big numbers, but there was no defense, Jake. That was the big part to this, is that when they played North Buncombe, 47 points scored by North Buncombe, 36 scored by East Henderson. So when you have like 80 points scored in a football game, where's the D? So got to have something there to keep this one handed off. I give this one back to Andrews, probably at a similar score. Could be 42 to 7 if they're careful. They may allow some stuff if depending on how they maybe another touchdown or two. This can be a fast team, but this is an Andrews ball game.
Yeah, I agree. I think they looked good last week, and like you said, even though those big numbers from the East quarterback and everything, they were not up against just the toughest team in the world. I think Murphy saw North Buncombe in a scrimmage, and we saw some of that film. And North Buncombe, not historically the toughest team in the world, so I think I give the nod to Andrews as well. But if we're going to talk about Andrews, we got to talk about old Tyler West, offensive lineman for Andrews, just committed to play ball at NC State. And there's another Smoky Mountain Conference member at NC State right now on the offensive line, Yusuf Mugerbil. They're both going to be playing hand in hand. I know you'll make the drive down there next year when those two get on the line together.
Absolutely. We were wanting to go see how Yusuf was doing this year. May do it, but definitely have to go and check them out and see how they're playing. But congratulations to them. Anytime you can step onto the D1 field, it's a job. It's a real big job, but hope everything works quite well for them. And and of course, being a North Carolina alum, you always want to see them in powder blue, but hey, whatever works, my man.
All right, we got one last team to talk about. That's the Hayesville Yellow Jackets. They took home a 35-2 victory in the rivalry game versus the Town County Indians. New quarterback, junior Tate Roberts, he settled into his position. Didn't put the ball in the air much, was 2 for 4 for 38 yards, but he was a field general. Let's hear from Tate Roberts and Taylor McClure following that win against Towns County.
All right, guys. good rivalry victory, 35-2. Defense played well, but Taylor, offensively, you got a new guy handing you the football. You guys seem to mesh pretty well, though. Tate, how's it feel being back there at Signal Caller?
It feels really good, especially behind the line. They performed great tonight, and these guys makes it easy. You know they're getting on the field.
Taylor, I mean, your line is really impressive offensively and defensively. Offensively, maybe one of the best lines you guys have had in a long time. What's it like to run behind some guys
young,
like that?
But they got grit. No matter what, they're going 100%, so I can trust that no matter what. Just follow them and I'll get somewhere.
Tate didn't put the ball in the air much, but with your receivers, you got Michael and obviously you got Taylor in the flat. How confident are you in your guys and your ability to get them the football?
I'm feeling really confident. Line giving me the protection they are. Just got to get it to them. They'll do their part. I got the confidence.
All right, guys. You got bragging rights for another year.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Thank you.
So, like I said, bragging
congratulations.
rights. Yeah, bragging rights for another year for Hayesville in that rivalry series over Towns County. But a confident Hayesville football team after week one. Didn't expect that game to go the way it did, but 35-2 victory. It really should have been 35-0 except for a freak safety there towards the end of the game. And like I said, the offensive and defensive lines of Hayesville, that's been an area they always struggle. This year, I don't know. Coach McClure, I interviewed him after the game. He said this could be the best offensive line, one of the best lines he's ever coached.
Well, looks like everything worked well for them. I like the diversity. There wasn't just one person that stood out and did quite all the work. Looked like they were able to exercise different people on the team and keep people guessing. Did I see that Graves had a couple touchdowns and 55 yards? I also like you got a few quarterbacks. Just Tate and did using Magaha at quarterback as well. A couple plays.
Yeah, they brought him in after the game was pretty well handled, 21-0 after halftime. Brought him in because Tate had been a little banged up. He got an injury in practice, so they didn't want to put him out there when they didn't have to. But both of them, Hayesville is in good hands at the quarterback position, depending on whichever way they go. I think it'll be Tate this year and next year, and then McGaha will be able to take it over his senior year. But they're both very good. McGaha may be the better thrower, but Tate Roberts, very good game manager. And when you've got Taylor McClure and Trey Graves at running back, that's what you want. You want a game manager. I was talking to some people, and they had Logan Caldwell. They have had Logan Caldwell, for what seemed like forever back there at quarterback. And he was a guy that could really make something happen, but could also hurt you. Kind of like a Josh Allen type that would get back there and hit all the buttons like in Madden. Throw it to this guy, throw it to this guy, maybe when you didn't have him open. But Tate's not that kind of guy. He's like I said, a game manager, and that's what you need to win football games. He's not going to turn the ball over, and he's not going to hurt you. So I'm pretty high on this Hayesville team after having seen them. I think they've got what it takes to make a run and win some games that they shouldn't.
Well, Jake, tell you the truth, coming up for Hayesville, looks like. The test may not be in until down in September after Labor Day when you take on Pisgah. But Pisgah this year, not the same Pisgah team that we've seen in the past. They get a little bit better as the season goes along. Georgia Force the week before that, coming up to Labor Day weekend. But Madison County, the Patriots at one time, I would say that leading up into these seasons. I know the coach went to high school with Jamie Eckstein, a really good football player at Smoky Mountain. As a matter of fact, he broke a state record for interceptions and played at Western Carolina University. Got a lot of football knowledge in his noggin. Sometimes, in Madison County, you get a nice stream of NATOs, and you get some other families that that feed into it, and There's the balls, and they're different. But this year looks a little thin. 7-33, they lose to Polk County on Friday night, and it wasn't the prettiest game. I believe that probably Hayesville could probably have the same luck. One, you're playing you're going to be playing up in Madison County. It's a long trip up there. There's typically not been an easy way to get to Marshall, North Carolina, but withstand that little long trip on the activity bus. Get up there, and it's a neat place to play. But I think really for Hayesville, the bigger test is going to come September 8th when they take on the Pisgah Bears.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. I think Hayesville rolls in this one against, even though they are going to be on the road, like you said, they're going to roll in this one against Madison. They're going to roll against Georgia Forest. They're going to roll against North Georgia. Their only out of conference test is, like you said, going to be Pisgah. They're kind of hand in hand with Andrews. So both those teams are going to have good records coming into the Smoky Mountain Conference play. And they should be healthy, which is, teams like Hayesville and Andrews, not necessarily the deepest teams historically. So that should help being healthy heading SMC play.
I think that there's a possibility, Jake, if this team really comes together, they just similar to Murphy. I mean, I think that's kind of been the whole guiding force is like young, inexperienced. We don't have a brand or defining moment, understanding of who we are. But hey, we're playing well, and we've got a lot of people doing really good things. And if we just stay unified, stay on the same page, listen to the coaches and get into it, I wouldn't be surprised if going into the conference facing Murphy at the end of September, they could be 5-0.
Yeah, I mean they've it's a long road ahead, but they still, they look good up until this point. I think all of we could have 5 out of the 6 Smoky Mountain Conference teams heading into the conference play either 5-0 or 4-1, because that's just the way things seem to be working out this year. Maybe we talked about it a little bit, Brandon, and we're about to end the show here, but we talked about it a little bit. Maybe we thought the conference might be a little down this year, and it was only, clearly Robbinsville is at the top. That's obvious. But we thought it was going to be Robbinsville, 7 piles of whatever, and then everybody else. I don't think that's necessarily the case. I think teams have really showed up and shown out at least through week 1. Like I said, Robbinsville's still at the very top, but there are teams in there that look like they can compete and make a deep playoff run.
And really, to tell you the truth, Jake, in the early goings of this, you may look across the table and say, well, my opponent is not as strong as, or did I beat them? At the end of the day, when you get down to the end of the season and they're stacking you up and ranking you for the state playoffs, it doesn't really matter. It's the fact that you got the W. You've got some ground behind you, and nobody looks when you're putting a gold ring on your finger. It says, "No, wait a minute. This was not the strongest Franklin team that you ever played, or Rosman was rebuilding, or it's the fact that you came to the game, you won, and you move along, and it's still power and momentum that moves you along, and the way things are rolling." When we finally get to conference, it could be anybody's ball game, and that old cliche of any given Friday night. But that's what's going to make it really exciting. How things roll out into the conference, who's going to be tough, and who's going to step up and play some football. And for one, I'm glad to be on the sideline to watch some of these games.
Agreed. It'll be a very fun season. Before we go, anything you want to say? I know you went to the Hall of Fame induction. You mentioned it a little bit. Coach Gentry and Coach Dietz inducted into the North Carolina High School Athletic Association Hall of Fame. I'm sure that was a great ceremony.
Well, the ceremony itself, there are 8 great inductees from all over the state. They had a moment to share the accolades. Gary Ayers, voice of the Swain County Maroon Devils, had no, wait a minute. They left one of Coach Dietz's state playoffs out. He had 4 1A state championships. I think they left out the 1985 win, and so we made note of that in the article there. But I tell you what, we were there to honor Coach Boyce Dietz and Coach David Gentry, legendary. But the thing that I found just so wonderful and amazing, because you had people, and I mentioned this in the write up there, was that you had people from Tar Heel to Toot Holler, which is a community over in Murphy and community over in Bryson City, but so many different families coming to watch, their respective coaches. And at one time, that they stare at each other across the field, and there were, these are the opponents, these are the enemies, and these are the guys that we've got to fend off. But really what breaks down to is that both Swain County Maroon Devils and Murphy Bulldogs, they're just really good family people that really care about each other. And it was the admiration that these 2 legendary coaches brought to the table, and the leadership that is instilled there, I hope is not lost. I hope it's something that is imbued to other generations, and that the Joseph Watsons and the Sherman Holtz and whoever else comes up behind them can emulate, because one, you've got all this football knowledge, you somehow adapt with younger kids coming in to be football players, eventually to become men, and there were so many different stories floating around. It was really just a kind of a magical evening to sit and listen to. And then you had people even from Silva, Coach Cindy Simmons. She escorted Boyce Dietz in, and there were people from really other places that came a long way to watch Coach Dietz and Coach Gentry, because they've made impact not just to the Murphy and to the Bryson City communities, but and now that they might be getting a little bit older, but neither one of them have lost any spring to their step, and can still tell good stories and still inspire you. Coach Dietz, one of the most impactful and to me, one of the most inspiring speakers that you could probably ever hear. Whether he's he was county commissioner in Jackson County for a number of years, and anytime he lobbied for something, it happened, and especially when he was working with Heath Schuler, and of course, and then both of them have had really good, I'll say, a supply chain of players. Everybody wants to look at the big ticket players that go and play in the NFL, but there are so many people that these guys really change lives and help build up, that it's just intense. And so I had a good time. But congratulations to both Coach Gentry and to Coach Dietz. Just another crown in their, or jewel in their crown, and glad to be a part of that. But Jake, looking forward to seeing what happens this week, and to any of them out there. Go Wildcats, go Black Knights, go Murphy Bulldogs, go Swain County Maroon Devils, and Cherokee Braves, and the whole, and the Hayesville Yellow Jackets. This is going to be a good season.
It is. That was evident through just 1 week. So we will be back next week, same time, same place, previewing Week 3 games and recapping Week 2 games. So appreciate you all tuning in. This has been Inside the Smoky Mountain Conference, presented by Team FYN Sports.
At Circuit World, we offer a wide selection of major appliances, name brands like Whirlpool, LG, Frigidaire, and more. Looking for furniture? Come by and browse our showroom or check out the endless aisle, a touchscreen kiosk with thousands of options. Need electronics, gaming computers, laptops, desktops, tablets? We have it all. OLED or QLED, 4K or high def. We have the selection to get you the TV of your dreams. And don't forget, at Circuit World, your credit is always good. So ask about our convenient payment options and 120 days, same as cash. Come see us today at one of our 5 area locations.
Circuit World has 9-piece living room packages at incredible prices. Get this stylish sofa and love seat, 3 tables, 2 lamps, 43-inch 4K TV, and stand, all for only $1699.99 or $129.99 a month. Or get this 9-piece living room and reclining sofa and reclining love seat, now only $1999.99 or $149.99 a month. These packages are amazing. Stop in today at one of our 5 locations and get the furniture you've always wanted at Circuit World.
In 1981, Reed Nicholson began selling tires out of an old barn in Mineral Bluff. Little did he know that he had just laid the groundwork for the most trusted names in automotive services in the Blue Ridge area. In 1997, Nicholson Tire Center became what it is today, holding the same values of faith, family, and great customer service. 2 locations to serve you, and the Blue Ridge location is currently expanding to offer fast service and the largest U-Haul provider in Georgia. Nicholson Tire Center, Blue Ridge, and Mineral Bluff.